It might ask you if you're okay with being recorded. I need to click. And we'll make a start. Okay, so from the feedback and from other feedback in our inbox and from members in Facebook groups and talking to us, we know that the students are the easiest to engage. So what we're looking for really is ways to spread that across all students. Perhaps there might be still some who are not quite as engaged as could be within the Smart School Council, and then spreading it across the whole school community, because it's easier to run programs when there is that excitement in the programme itself. So today we've had a few members who have offered their suggestions, because this is a member-led CPD, to share their good practice. Our first member couldn't be here today, she's Kerry. Kerry is from a small school down in Cornwall. She's left her details there in case you wanted to get in contact with her directly. One thing she wanted me just to kick off with was to say that the big thing that she finds that helps, regardless of whether it's about involving the wider school community or not, is that they have a very well-trained comms team who've been trained to nag. So basically, they have permission to go around the classes to encourage, in commas, encourage people to get involved and do those class meeting questions. Aside from that, Kerry finds that the best ways to involve the wider community in her school is to get as many people on board as possible. So she has the head teacher at that leadership, critical leadership level, who is involved. That head teacher knows the question that is set for every class meeting, and that head teacher knows the results of every class meeting question. In addition to that, what Kerry School also do, and this is another possible way to engage and excite that school community, is they have the Big Debate Club. And that's a project that's run within our charity. It runs alongside the Smart School Council. Many of our members have it. If you don't have it, look it up, bigdebateclub.com. It's free to access. And that's big national debates that students can have about important topics to students across the country. And she finds that particularly engages the students in her school. So the head teacher takes a real lead on that. He takes a real lead in knowing what the class meeting question is. He takes a lead in knowing what the results are, and then he emails all families, and he does that regularly. He also, she's got an example later on, we'll have a look. He also adds his own comments about the questions and about the Big Debate Club as well. So he emails the link to families for that. So really it's about, I guess, from an outsider perspective, is showing that at all levels, starting from that critical head teacher level, this is important in our school. So I guess if you do have a leadership member who is really on board and might take a lead in perhaps having an email to involve families, or as he also does, involve Class Dojo with all families and like a message from him, that's a really useful way that Kerry finds to excite the wider school community. In addition, as we said, the questions go on this weekly newsletter that they send out. You might not send weekly newsletters, you might send half-termly or termly newsletters. But I know what it's like from doing newsletters myself. You get into the habit of putting the same things on newsletters, and often you overlook the things that really could go on there. And Kerry finds that putting those questions that they've been discussing, those debates that they've been having, and the results, putting them on the newsletter encourages families to ask the students, what's going on in school, what are you talking about, what action's happening, and it really spreads the idea of what a Smart School Council is and gets families involved as much as possible. What she also does is she tries to involve not just teaching, but non-teaching staff, and also critically students across age groups, because we have the class meetings within, normally, apart from some of our secondaries, normally your class meetings are within age classes. Students are all a similar age and they all know each other. So what Kerry does is to encourage that cross-age chat is she posts on a whiteboard the question each week, and she says she puts it on a normal whiteboard so that non-teaching staff, just like the lunchtime supervisors and the cooks and the plate workers, can all find a time where they come up to the whiteboard read the question, give the feedback, circle their vote, what they would say. And also because it's in the central area, like the dining hall, she says that it's really encouraging when you see like year 6 students who are chatting with year 3 students about the topic and going up and saying, I chose that one, or I choose that. And she said it really creates a buzz within the school environment. When we asked Kerry what pictures or what ideas do you have for other members in engaging the wider school community, one thing that she really said was involve students through their progress boards. And I'm sure a lot of you have progress boards as members. We do encourage our members to have them. She says that what she does is when a new piece of action takes place, she keeps the action teams within the class. So she doesn't go cross age, she keeps it within a class. So if an action team was needed, for example, to set up a log trail, it might be the responsibility of like the year 4s to start with. But then once it's put on their progress board, she says, if it's there and it's visual in a central place, you get students who want to know what's happening. So they go and seek the year 4s out, they ask them about what's happening with the action, they ask to be involved. So she says, before you even know it, there's a buzz created across the different year groups because it's evidenced on the progress board and it's there for students to see and to ask to be involved. And then lastly, what she does is she looks at her local community and thinks, well, how can we involve our local community in our Smart School Council? And the thing that she said she found most useful was local charities. They choose 3 each year. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget, isn't it, when you choose a big charity to support. A lot of our members support charities and perhaps have fundraising events. But when it's a big charity, I think sometimes it's hard to see what the impact is of what the students have done. So she says they specifically choose local charities because it's really easy, as she says here, to get communication back from the charity. So when the students fundraise, they've got that interaction, but also they can really easily and locally see the evidence of their action and the impact of what they've done. And it's something that she says she's going to keep continuing going forwards, is keeping that fundraising support, if you have it as a school, keep it as local as possible so that students can interact, can keep that connection going and can really see, gosh, my voice has an impact. It's changed this in my local community. And then Kerry lastly just posted a little bit of a snippet of part of the email. This is the part where the head teacher is talking about Big Debate Club, and it includes the link as well. So parents can just click the link on the phone or click the link on the laptop and get involved in the Big Debate Club, and the picture of what she does in the dining room with writing up the question for the next class meeting and people putting their options down and what would they choose. And again, that's adults, non-teaching staff, teaching staff and cross age group with students. So hopefully Kerry's gave you a couple of ideas. I think there's definitely useful ones that I picked up from Kerry's feedback. So appreciate that, Kerry. We will send you a copy of this video, so thank you in advance. Our next member speaker is Amanda, and I think Amanda might not be here, so I'm just going to give her just a second because I think she's not been able to attend last moment. I can't hear her give me a wave or saying hi. No, she's not. So Amanda, again, I will talk through your ideas. Hopefully I will do them justice. But again, thank you in advance, Amanda, for sharing your ideas. So Amanda is from Ladywood Primary, not far from where I am, to be honest. She has also shared her email. So again, if there are any things that you think I'd like to speak to Amanda about, please feel free to contact Amanda directly. She's more than happy for you to do that. Amanda's really, really active on our Smart School community. She's been with us a few years, a real advocate. So just let me admit somebody. There we go. A real advocate for the programme and fantastic ideas. So here's some of her suggestions about involving the wider school community. So Amanda looks at it at all levels. She immediately looks at it from like the top that you can go to. So she's already had presentations with wider MAP members and governors. And with those presentations, basically she asked the comms team, you need to put together an example, a presentation to tell our governors all about Smart School Council. And I guess it's a good alternative rather than, giving documentation or you yourself presenting, this is what Smart School Council is. And also asking them to tell the government, to tell the MATs and the trustees, this is the impact of the programme and this is what we have been doing and this is why we enjoy it. And she's got some great reactions from governors and leaders throughout the MAT for that. She also thought, well, let's exploit the link between democracy and politicians. And I think this is a great idea. She found who her local MP was, and she contacted the local MP, explained really briefly what Smart School Council was, and obviously immediately hooks in that politician, because politicians, democracy, this is fantastic, they want to know more. Invited them in. The comms team did a short presentation about what Smart School Council was, but then the MP came and had a look at like a class meeting to see what was happening, saw what the results were, and that went down a storm. And I know she's put invite a local MP, but I know that she's had multiple contact with her local MP. And I think any way to possibly include your own local MP would be fantastic. I was thinking myself about who my local MP was, and I must admit it took me a while to work out because it's not always easy, but I did actually find out who it was. So that's potentially a good link as to how to involve your local community and kind of spread excitement about the programme. And obviously she said as well, the kids were buzzing, the school felt important because they had the local MP there, but the comms team as well were very excited the fact that they were being recognised for doing this democratic programme. And it really got them buzzing about the programme even more. Like we had from Kerry, they also fundraise for a charity. I'm not sure whether they keep it local or not, but I know that they definitely fundraise for charities that are important, say that they invited the community to take part. And I think what she meant from that, just remembering my discussions, was that with these presentations with MATs, governors, local MPs, with a charity, when she contacted them and they came in to see a presentation, to see a class meeting, she also got input from them and said to them, do you have any ideas for future questions? Do you think there are any important themes that the children might be interested in talking about? And getting the wider community involved in that, she's found really successful. And then lastly, Amanda is a huge social media advocate, and she says this is a particularly good way to excite everyone, from students, from their families, governors, MATs, local communities, democracy, local MPs. It's a fantastic, easy tool just to share what's been happening. She uses Twitter, and she says it's a great platform. I would say totally agree with Amanda there. And also don't forget us, you can also tag us in as well. And we have got our Twitter handle on the next couple of slides. We'll move on. So Amanda here, these are some pictures of her sharing her social media posts, and you can see there's some fundraisers there that's for Ukraine, some remembrance service representing the school there, and then they even invited, this was another thing I remember mentioning, they even invited a local radio person in to try and spread the news about what the school was doing, to spread the news about democracy and the programme. And again, I know when they came in, the children asked the local radio person, what do you think would be useful for students to be discussing? Do you have any ideas or anything that you think we could talk about? So it's always that two-way conversation. And then obviously the students, as they're leading the programme, have that final say of actually what questions we will ask in our class meetings. And as you can see here, the travel smart guest, setting the following week's questions. So as you can see, they've had a conversation with him here about travel to school over winter, and then getting him involved in choosing that week's question with the comms team, again having that final decision. And as we mentioned before, getting that local MP involved, because obviously MPs love anything to do with democracy, which is fantastic. When we asked Amanda what would make it even easier to engage a wider school community, do you think? not surprisingly, her biggest feedback was share, particularly through social media. She also said, don't be scared to just share in as many different ways as you can, because that creates a real buzz. So they do it through a termly newsletter. They also use, just like Kerry was, they use existing platforms like Dojo, so that they are not creating more work for themselves, but they're involving local communities, local families, students in everything that they do. And as you can see here, she's got even more plans next year. We can hear you on the microphone. And our last person is Beth. Beth is from Doverbrooks in Oxford, and she's done something quite unique. She wanted to share her ideas. She produced a flip chart, a presentation, as you can see, but then she's narrated it. So she's actually videoed herself talking through this. So thank goodness you're going to get a break from my voice. So I'm just going to stop sharing this. I'm going to bring up the video, and then you'll be able to see Beth talking about what she's found useful to engage the wider school community. There we go.
Hello everyone, I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but my name is Beth and I'm from Doverbrook School in Oxford. We're heading into the...
Right, share my screen. And hopefully you can see that. Okay, so it does look a little bit different to the previous slides, because Beth prepared this herself. So I'm going to hand over to Beth, so I'll be able to be quiet for the next 7 or 8 minutes. Okay, here we go. If you can't hear, do shout out.
Well, year now of our Smart School Council, so I've got plenty of ideas that hopefully will help you around how we engage our school. So there's two main things that have been pivotal in terms of our success over the years and increased success. The first one is regular updates, because for quite a while we were learning how best to get information across there. So we've got this board, we've got suggestion boxes happening this year, so you can put suggestions in. And then we've also got the digital aspect, sort of following COVID really, and we've got a new website this year and a newsletter that is sent out to all parents. So every single week something is happening in one, if not all 4 of those things. And it's also so important to us here that we involve everyone. It's not just the students, we're obviously involving staff and non-teaching staff, so bringing in the receptionists and that kind of thing, and parents as well. If I could give you any other advice, it would be those 2 things. To give you a little bit more detail then, how we involve students, that's my face tonight, how we involve students. So we have our class meetings and we do those weekly. And we also have stickers for I led a class meeting that are really popular here. And I know that you can order them from the Smart School Council. Because students are aware that the results of the class meetings, yes, the students see them in the week after, but we also make a graph of that and put it on sort of slideshow screens around the school, so it's visible over the whole week and everyone can see. In September, we, at the very beginning of the year, have a week or 2 where in the HSC lessons, we look at the role of democracy in our school and how school council fits into that. So I sort of send out a lesson plan to everyone that they can use, and it explains the structure of the Smart School Council. Then over the year, we have 2, maybe 3 assemblies. We have one in September that we've just had to announce our new communication scheme once that election has happened. And it's also an opportunity to collate ideas for action teams and things they want to see over the year, so to kind of get the comms team up and running. And then later in the year, it's really an update. There's 2 big changes we made this year, as we're in our 4th year. The new website was one, which I just mentioned. And we're also doing the students voted in the class meeting last year to do regular mini video updates for the comms team. So tiny things during registration, and you can see we use Flipgrid in the school. So you can scan and then you'll see them all going, hi, I'm so-and-so and I'm the action team developer. So just to make them a bit more visible and present. Next up, involving staff then. So first of all, at inset, I have about a 10-minute slot where I just do a presentation to the staff here to explain the structure, especially for new staff. The main message I have to them is actually class meeting idea requests. Like, they can submit questions to the question finders, and it might make sense to their subject. So I've put an example out here that says, in French, how frequently would you like vocab tests? So something from their subject, which some staff have already taken us up on. And then events is the big one. We have events are so popular in the school that we have a separate role in our team of events organizer, and they plan things usually half-termly and often involving staff. And as I mentioned, with non-teaching staff, so Pedro maintenance and Joe reception and Ashley, our IT guy, they're all involved. So an example is on the right, we did Tinsel a teacher last Christmas. It was a class meeting question where the students voted which staff they wanted to see, and then and as you can see, I'm there on the far right, and it's including non-teaching staff. It's really important here to involve everyone, but all parts of the community. Last up, involving parents. There's a bit less here, but we do encourage them to get involved. I mentioned that weekly newsletter that was pre-existing for school council. It's been a tradition here, but we have one of the roles is a What's On writer, it's called What's On, in the communications team, where they're writing up what's happened. So I've included a snip of one of them from a couple of weeks ago here, where it's written. I put the link to the website, and there's the graph from the class meeting question, the actions as a result, and so on and so forth. When we have prospective parents at open mornings and open evenings here, we make a big deal at the notice board, and we'll happily talk through the system because it's working quite well. So that's everything from me. If you have any questions, you're welcome to get in touch. Contact school council, Smart School Council. I'm happy to pass my email because things are working really well here, I'm pleased to say. We're big thumbs up to the Smart School Council system. So please let me know if there's anything I can help with. Hello everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but my name is Beth.
You stop off and go around again. So that's Beth. I'll just get back to the slides. So hopefully you're able to see those okay. There we go. There's some really good ideas, and particularly like the events role that's been created, which the students lead, and also the communication with families when they create that newsletter, but they get the comms team to actually create it. And on the open evenings, I really like the idea of actually promoting at open evenings and open days as a school what you do with your Smart School Council as a way to involve people voice. So there are 3 members that came today to share some ideas about what they're doing to excite and involve their school community. So what we've done now is we've collated them together, because some of you might have come for a particular area you might want to come to involve. How do we involve non-teacher staff, or how do we involve governors, or how do we involve a local community? So we've tried to take these ideas now and put them together into groups. We also don't want you to feel really overwhelmed. You know, if you leave this CPD with, even 1 or 2 things that you think we could try this to create a little bit more of a buzz in our school, that's better than feeling like you're leaving this CPD with a million things, a list long, and then never gets done because it's too overwhelming. So we've put these together here. So we've just got a couple of slides to show you, and then obviously any questions would be absolutely fab as well. So from our member feedback from the slides and from our inbox and our Facebook group and what people have been telling us to involve families, the main things that our members are finding really useful is exploiting existing platforms. Dojo came up again and again and again. Involving families through newsletters or emails. And like we said with Beth, she gets her comms team to actually write it. Kerry involves the head teacher who leads those emails. So whatever way you do that might be something useful to consider. As Amanda, big social media advocate, and it's been mentioned, I think, on Beth as well, about sharing, so promoting what we do and sharing. I mean, there's so many families now that use social media, and it's such an easy way to reach out to families and tell them what you're doing, and also to get them involved. You could even do a quick poll, in Facebook, or maybe a quick Twitter poll. This is our week's question, this is what we're asking next time in our class meeting. What would you choose? It just gets families a bit excited about having a voice as well, and knowing that pupils have a voice. As you can see, we've got our Twitter handle there, so please don't forget about us, because we love to share what's going on. And then, as we mentioned then with Beth, it's easy to forget at those open evenings. about mentioning about smart school councils and the way that you promote and raise people voice. So perhaps just trying to have that as something to remember, as a way to involve families. So when they come and they notice that, that could really be a driver for them choosing to come to your school, your match, your academy, if they know that people voice is being really well looked after and being raised, and something that is a priority and importance within the school that they potentially are going to send their youngest child or beloved child to. You might notice that some of these suggestions come up again and again because they don't just fit one area, they fit multiple areas of the local school community. From our members involving teaching and non-teaching staff, again, screens and whiteboards in central areas came up again and again. Sometimes it was people saying using screens to project onto, or using, like what we had in our school, a large TV to show the questions and to show the results. I think sometimes it's easy to forget the results part. But also as well, considering like what Kerry said about actually going old school and using a whiteboard that can be written on, so that those non-teaching staff can go up and write their answers on, circle things, ask questions. And the fact that it is in central places where multi-age students can discuss the questions adds to that kind of bubbling excitement. And it's also quite interesting to see what different ages think to the questions, and that creates in itself a further discussion. If you have some year 7s who are thinking, why am I choosing different to the year 10s, you know, it creates more opportunities for students to debate and discuss and hear each other's opinions. I'm just going to let Amanda in, bless her, but there we go, she's popped in. And then, as we said again, social media, again, really easy to involve all teaching and non-teaching and governance through that. It's really easy plan, really easy, put my teeth in, really easy method to involve those. And last area, involving students and involving your local wider community. Again, as I've mentioned, the screens, the whiteboards in central areas, very, very easy way to involve students across the age groups. As Amanda does, where she specifically seeks out local contacts to involve her wider community, like MPs, local charities like Kerry does, local community groups who might want to know what's happening, who might have an interest in democracy, who might need a help with fundraising, who might want to link up with some fantastic local schools, or who just might be interested to come and see what's happening from their point of view, or might have some suggestions for future questions that the students can discuss. Again, it's come up every time. Social media is a great way to share and involve students and the wider community. Something that we are trying to do this year going forward is look at how we can perhaps highlight and broaden merchandise, basically what we have, because as we know, teachers, you know, students love any sort of like merchandise, any sort of badges, stickers, pencils, pens, anything that can kind of make them proud of, you know, I've led a class meeting today, I've took part in helping raise people voice, I'm on the comms team. It's really a great way to build a buzz and build excitement in the school community. So currently we do have I led a class meeting stickers. I can put that link if you wanted to order some stickers, I can put that in the follow-up email, although I know some of you have already ordered them. And a really interesting suggestion from Beth is that perhaps, you know, Key Stage 2 and older, maybe Key Stage 3 and 4, perhaps consider, or if it already is within your PSHE curriculum, link it up with Smart School Council, so the students studying democracy and can say, okay, this is the link with Smart School Councils, we understand why we're having this programme, it's about raising democracy, it's about us having a say, having a vote. And lastly, like we mentioned before, another great way to involve your wider community when there's potential families come scoping out those schools, have a notice board with Smart School Council on to show what you do. Perhaps have the comms team there to chat to potential families, to tell them what they've been doing at their Smart School Council, as a way to showcase that you raise people's voice and get excitement in your local community. So at this point, there might be questions. We could go into breakout rooms if needed, but there might not be the need for doing that. But basically what we want you to feel is that you're not overloaded with ideas, but that you can leave here with at least 1 or 2 things that you think you could try this year to increase that buzz and increase that excitement around your school and perhaps your wider school community about the Smart School Council. So before we just look at that, I'll just give another moment to see if there are any questions, whether you wanted to unmute yourself or whether you wanted to post in the chat box, or if there wasn't any, that's okay. Okay, there's something in the chat box. Let me just have a little look what that is. That says, no problem. Thank you so much. I need to go to another meeting, but I've got lots of useful, lots of ideas. That's fab. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so there isn't anyone asking questions here. Thank you for that message that was just sent. So to finish, if you would like to do this, you can do. You don't have to. You might think, no, this is the time I need to go home. It's nearly gin o'clock. I need to get out of here. That's absolutely fine if you want to drop out. If you wanted to hang around and chat with us or with any of the members that stay, I'm staying for another 5 to 10 minutes or so. If you wanted to post in the chat box, is there 1 thing or 2 things that you think, I can try those? I can try those easily this year to try and create a buzz and try and involve the whole school community. Have a little look here. Somebody's just posted. Okay, so somebody says, how often do people post questions? I'm in secondary and I've just started. That's a great one. Thank you. I'll just make that bigger so I can see more clearly. Oh, somebody's saying using Class Dojo to promote Smart School Council. I never considered this before. And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, there's so many things as a teacher and educator that you have to remember. It's easy sometimes to overlook things that might be staring you in the face. So fantastic. Judith said she's going to put an order in for some stickers, and she's got lots of other ideas now to go away and try. That's fantastic. In regards to Sarah's question, how often do people post questions? I guess it depends, Sarah. You know, we encourage our new members to try and have 2 every half term to give that kind of breathing space between choosing a question, giving people a chance to do it, looking at the results, and then choosing the next question. But some of our more established schools go more often than that. But we would say don't rush to have lots. If it's going to make you stop doing it, it's better to do less and do them better. Becky said she's going to try having a whiteboard in the lunch hall this year. Good luck with that, Becky. I hope that goes really well. Sarah says she wants her comms team to do the roles, for example, a question finder, etc. But she's finding that quite tricky at the minute. She finds that she's doing a lot of it. Sarah, if you wanted to reach out to us, if you wanted to have a chat with us about ways that we could help you with that, or perhaps linking you up with other schools who might be able to help out, drop us an email. More than happy to help with that. And Sam's saying, yeah, they are as well. So Sam, if you wanted to drop us an email, or you can also message in here if you want me to reach out to you, to maybe have a chat with you about how we can help that handover of responsibility more to the students. More than happy with that. And then there's a bit of a conversation going on between Sarah and Sam. Love it.
I was just going to unmute and so I can speak. It's a bit easier. So we use SharePoint a lot in school, and so all the staff use SharePoint and Teams, and we share all our documents on there. So I've had 2 meetings since I started with my my old student council, and then allocated, they've chosen what jobs they wanted to do. But the problem that I'm having is it's just having enough time to get them